Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, it is Tuesday, 2 for Tuesday. If you're here with me on 2 for Tuesday, on the last Tuesday of July, you're in for an exceptional set of content here. So, sporting my favorite colors, the cobalt blue and gold, just getting dialed in for Tuesday Facebook Live. My history of Facebook Live and live conference calls are rooted very deep in personal development, self-improvement, going all the way back to 1998 when I started doing this call in the afternoon, 5 o'clock Eastern in the afternoon. It was called Mindset Consciousness back in the day. I then converted it, once I crossed the 90s into the 2000s, into the more heart than talent mindset call, which was my brand for many, many years and the title of my very first book. Jared, good to see you this afternoon. Some of you actually have that book, More Heart Than Talent. That book was written in 2002, and it was some really good content, and I have since updated and brought that into the new millennium. So today's content, if you are watching along, is going to be called Letting Go of Your Payoff. And some of you who've been coaching with me for a number of years are beginning to really grasp and understand what the payoff means. And for many years in my advanced event called Breakthroughs to Success, I would do an exercise where we sat in one circle, and then people would volunteer to sit in the middle, and then we would ask each other, what is your payoff? What is your payoff? I began teaching the term payoff several years ago. About over 20 years ago, I introduced that term to my audience of personal development, self-improvement coaching clients back in the day. And so for the last 20 plus years, I have been teaching the payoff. Broken down, and I want to say hello to Zarek and Jared, two exceptional young men. Aaron, good to see you. So Jared, all three of you have experienced the payoff. And the more that you come back and watch and witness that payoff, good afternoon, Josh. Good to connect with you. Josh, I'm looking forward to seeing you in Arizona. That's going to be obvious. That's going to be amazing. I'm actually coming out of retirement to do a speaking event in Arizona, a one-day event, and I would come out of retirement again to do an event for Josh in Florida at some point. And Josh, we will be discussing a one-day or two-day event where we would do a money seminar in some beautiful location, and we'd attract an amazing group of people. Michelle, special thank you for being a client of mine. Tomas, good to see all of you. We're going to cover the payoff this afternoon. I'm going to dig in. I want to commend many of you have been following for years. So you're not only grasping the payoff, you're beginning to understand it, and you're living the let go lifestyle of the payoff. The payoff broken down is being attracted and addicted to the neurochemical high that the lower self-ego receives by being in drama, trauma, avoidance, procrastination, dysfunctional relationships, narcissism, and brain fog, and all the other situations that comprise the neurological network of neurons that form addictions. And when you're an emotional addict, you'll avoid your success, you'll sabotage your success, you'll attract sexy, broken people to your reality to fulfill your own brokenness, because they may be just a little less broken than you, and it gives you that slight edge to fix them up and then disappoint yourself because they can't perform to a set of standards. The payoff is also avoid your success, even though you know you're capable of it, but you keep avoiding it because you have anxiety about the responsibility of being and staying successful. The ego does not want to be responsible. The ego hides out. The ego is vulnerable. The ego is sensitive, defensive. The ego has to explain, validate, and justifies itself. The ego is a chronic storyteller, and the ego has quick excuses, and the ego is very, very sensitive when it comes to the vulnerability of the payoff. Now, if you can grasp what the payoff means, and here's the challenge with the payoff, because the ego also says, the ego is the lower self, the ego says, well, that's stupid, that's dumb. Why would I want to do that? That doesn't make sense. So that is the conventional wisdom of the analytical egoic brain that processes, thinks, analyzes, gets ready to get ready, and recreates the same situation to fulfill the same neurochemical craving, the cardio cocktail that keeps you doing the same situation. Marie, great to see you. I'm going down the rabbit hole of the payoff. And as you have a better understanding of the payoff and why you do what you do, then you are creating this separation. So the payoff is bonded. It's like two neurons that are like this. And so these neurons, they grind against each other, and then they continue to formulate, and then they're like this. So then the neurons that do this, they keep bonding and bonding, and they cluster. Then it forms a feeling, which is a mood, then becomes an identity. And this is why sabotage becomes an identity. Even though you're talented and brilliant, and you tell yourself that you're better than this, you'll still sabotage yourself to recreate the same set of feelings. So what the ego does, the ego creates cheat days. So even though you're on a diet, even though you're clean and sober, the ego goes, no, I can control my drinking. No, I can have ice cream. I'm gonna go ahead and do some microdosing. The ego creates stories and excuses to fulfill, to experience the experience. That's what the ego does when it comes to the payoff. Now, the enlightened person who's in breakthrough, the enlightened soul who is stepping into higher consciousness, the person who has a better understanding of cause and effect and why we do what we do, is now much more aware of the payoff. That doesn't mean you're done with the payoff, but it means once you become aware of the payoff, you're breaking through. As you have a better understanding of why you do what you do. When you are fulfilling the trauma bonds of your parents, when you're fulfilling the legacy of your parents who instilled in you that you are not good enough, and then you keep recreating the not good enough, when you keep fulfilling the legacy of codependency, as you lost your identity as a child, as you were put in a position to be a grown-up, as you became a therapist, a father, a mother, a coach to one of your parents or both your parents, as you became the parent, if you were a slave of your parents, if you were spanked by your parents, multitude of situations, and your parents are just a byproduct of their own generational trauma. So there's 4 levels of trauma that we experience: physical, sexual, emotional, and generational. Any one of the combination of these traumas will lead to the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that create anxiety, fear, and specifically doubt. The payoff is living in doubt, and doubt keeps you safe. It keeps you in a state of overwhelm, and it keeps you in disappointment. And the more you can grasp this, the more you understand, the more that you create the aha moments, the more that you create the breakthrough factor, the more that you live in the release of these feelings that you hold on to, you're moving into the higher consciousness of recovery, and you're letting go of the mind-body connection. So the mind-body connection is the bond that the body holds on to that creates fight or flight. Fight or flight is the automatic reaction. It's not a response, it's a reaction to stimulus. And when you hold on to these feelings, it's very challenging to be a professional at sales, because selling requires clarity. It requires, in clarity, it requires also the ability to discern and the auditory skill of hearing. But if you're in your head, if you're processing, thinking, and analyzing, you will miss the buy signals. You won't have the courage to ask the millionaire to buy a larger package from you. You won't have the courage to ask the insurance client to add on to the existing client. You won't have the courage to ask your real estate client to buy a second home, a third home, or a fourth home, because you'll have a story in your head that you might get in trouble, make a mistake. They probably wouldn't buy it. They'll think you're greedy. They'll think you're selfish. These are the stories that creates the payoff. When you have the courage to let go, you're creating the vacuum law of prosperity. It means you're taking out of your bag of tricks all of your traumas, dramas, brain fogs, panic patterns, and overwhelmed feelings, and you're filling this up with prosperity. It's called the vacuum law of prosperity, pioneered by the great late Bob Proctor. I had the privilege of sharing the stage with Mr. Proctor on 3 different occasions back in the day, early in my career. He also wrote the book, You Were Born Rich. As you start to understand that your payoff is sabotage, your payoff is overwhelm, your payoff is avoidance, your payoff is broken relationships, your payoff is debt, your payoff is avoid your own success to stay disappointed. As you understand these key components of the payoff, Now it gives you the opportunity in rigorous honesty, as you step into your own truth, as you're able to look at your character defects without criticizing yourself. From honesty, you are changing the way the neurons wire and fire. It's an amazing experience, because what happens is that your voice can change in this process. Your energy that you've held on to in your upper chest begins to release itself. Your body at times will release fat that it's held on to. You'll also release shame that you've held on to about debt, sexual abuse, drug abuse, drug dealing, other events that you did that you're ashamed of, that you don't want to tell anyone the secrets. It'll give you the opportunity to move into forgiveness, step 8 and 9 in any 12-step program, the two steps where you make amends and ask for forgiveness. And it changes the whole energy that you transmute from, which then begins to change the who and what you attract. I coach multiple millionaires, and I also coach brand new people in business. I have a high probability of either developing people into millionaires or attracting them who are seeking higher level coaching. And my coaching is not the vanilla coaching. My coaching is not technical know-how. It's not how to sell a product. I mean, I can do all that for you, but I've evolved after 27 plus years, almost 28, into understand. I understand that mechanism, the lock of letting go. And once you can unlock that combination to letting go, now you've moved into the consciousness that you will begin to change who and what you attract. Now, in a leveraged business, this becomes the key to the kingdom, because in this state, you'll attract customers that are more high-ticket customers. You'll attract teammates that have a different vision. You'll attract now it's on a law of average. So it means that if you go 0 for 100, when you move into higher consciousness, that 0 for 100 starts to become 1, 2, and 3 in 100. So the law of averages begin to move into your favor. So now you're playing the game of odds rather than the game of chance. And in attraction, 1 or 2 people can change your entire life. I mean, when you attract a maven, an influencer, affluencer, and people, the rock star, but when you're able to attract people like this, or you develop them organically from your own leadership ability, you are absolutely holding the different keys to consciousness. You are now moving into mastery. Now, this will require you to have a wide view and then a narrowed down view of who and what you attract. This requires you to look at your generational family. That means your parents and your grandparents, your brothers and your sisters. It also means that you look at your circle of influence through grade school, junior high, high school, college, and present day. And as you look at who you associate with, who you attract, that's your attractor factor. And as you look at, now today, I called one of my best friends David Baker. David Baker's father was a blocking back for Gale Sayers at University of Kansas. I met David Baker in July of 1980. He was my assistant waiter in a 5-star restaurant called Fanny's in Kansas City. David is a multimillionaire. He lives in Wimberley, Texas. He's the county water director in the spelunking capital of America with the underground cave diving. He's a very eclectic dude, superstar athlete, was all-state in basketball. He held John Sunvold to play in the NBA for 9 years. He held him to 6 points once in basketball in Raytown. He went to Raytown South in Kansas City. David was a rock star athlete. He had a full ride at University of Missouri. David and I were inseparable for a number of years. I called him today, picked up. I spoke to him for half an hour today about the good old days. And so David, like me, is clean and sober. He's an exceptional artist, a very eclectic individual. And just like he and I used to talk about it, we used to lay around in our apartment and romance being millionaires back in the day. And I'm 68 and he is 67, so I'm 1 year older than him, and we worked in multiple restaurants together, went through a lot of life together over a 10-year period. And see, he's one of my circle of influence. He's one of at least 15 people I could call that are like him that I met in a 10-year period. That is a attractor factor. 2 of my other best friends one owns a 5-star restaurant in Kansas City. Another one owns one of the top barbecue joints in Kansas City. And his cousin Charlie Gito owned one of the top restaurants in St. Louis. So once again, this is 6 degrees of separation. So when you begin to let go of your payoff, You're creating a space to attract your reality, quality, like-minded, then you fill in the blank. So if you're in a real estate business, an insurance business, network marketing, direct sales, high-ticket influencing, high-ticket sales, you're a coach yourself, you have a small business, whatever the situation is, you're going to require customers, clients, value and service, and whatever else you require to attract your reality. It's going to be important that you become skilled at the science of attraction. Attraction is a byproduct of the telepathic message that you are sending. So when your message is mixed, it says, please join me, but don't, I'm not good enough. When you're in a state of, I'm not certain if I can do this thing. When you're not clear that you own a business. When you continue to hold on to the same set of circumstances, the same set of feelings, you will continue to attract your reality, the same situations to fulfill your payoff, which is the addiction to disappointment. I believe I just saw Jennifer here this afternoon. Jennifer, that is awesome to see you. I was your coach many, many years ago through Diane Hunt back in the day. So I have coached over 10,000 clients. I just drove Charlie Gito's and thought of you. Thank you, Leslie. That is awesome. I knew Charlie. His first cousin, Michael Garozzo, is one of my best friends, and his picture is on my wall right there. His name is Michael Garozzo, and Charlie Gito were first cousins in St. Louis, and they both used to work back on the Hill at Tony's in downtown St. Louis. And I know the owner, Jim Bomarito. The last time I was in Tony's, he picked up the check for Alec Friel and I. I mean, who does that? He does. And so that happens to me frequently because I attract to my reality situations like that. See, there you are, Jennifer. I knew I saw you. Jennifer Myers, I am worthy. I'm deeply honored that you are on my Facebook Live this afternoon. Once again, through 6 degrees of separation, Jennifer and I are connected through Diane Hunt. Diane will be attending the Millionaire Blueprint in December, and Jennifer has attended many, many of my events on the East Coast and Stockton, California. Good to see you, and congratulations, Jennifer, on your success. And when you are willing to pay the price of success without knowing the cost, you will cross the bridge. But if you have to know all the details up front, and you, Marie, my girl, you have lots of memories also. So once again, through 6 degrees of separation. So I'm talking to Dave Baker today. Charlie Gito's name comes up. Michael Garozzo's names come up. And here we are on the call. There's right here, there's 2 women on today's Facebook Live who both have a connection to Charlie Gito's restaurant in St. Louis along with me. What are the odds of that happening? With me, a lot. Because I attract to my reality quality, like-minded, then I fill in. And there's Diane, my girl. Diane Hunt and Josh Waxman are 2 of the dearest clients I've coached. And it's interesting, both of them have coached with me going back to 2014. They both met me in 2014. They are 2 of the most eclectic people I coach and have a circle. Both of them are breaking through at the same time. They're both well on their way to self and team-made millionaires, and we met in the same year. What are the odds of this? Very, very high. I've dined with both of them over 20 times. I've dined with both of them together at times. I mean, what are the odds of this? Very, very high. We refer each other multiple businesses. The 3 of us consistently refer each other business, and I would do that with any of you as we develop a long-term relationship. That is the whole reciprocal business. That's how we do it. I dined with Diane. I mean, I remember buying Diane. I bought her. I don't drink, but I bought Diane a $500 bottle of Dom Perignon back in 2019 at Da Benito's in Union, New Jersey, which is also a very unique situation because that restaurant is right by Merck Laboratories. And I mean, I can go down a whole rabbit hole of what that all means, but it is so awesome to see so many of you on today's Facebook Live. Jared Andre is just another amazing man. I met Jared Jared's brother was my client in 2008. And so Jared was Jared was a teenager, and his brother Ryan was my client back in the day in the Chad Wade era. Chad Wade was another rock star client of mine back in the day. And here Jared is on today's Facebook Live. Jared has attended all 7 Millionaire Blueprints, a very, very dear client to me and friend, and someone I highly endorse. And I will tell you, I'm watching you, and there's so much love and admiration for those of you in Diane's team and in Josh's team, and you're being mentored by top tier people. I coached Zarek today, who is just an amazing young man. I coached Aaron. I coached Diane has Beth Blackmore, and she has Rachel. So what is happening? Two of my best students, their attractor factor is changing, and you're gonna see this. I have another young man in Arizona who's just absolutely crushing it. I have several. I'm coming out of retirement to do an event. This is not because I want to speak again, because I want to be a part of the culture of these people again. The part I miss the most about speaking is never about speaking. It's about the Friday night before. It's the connection. It's the people. It's the love. It's the meeting before the meeting. It's the meetings after the meetings. For me, speaking was a dime a dozen. I never spoke because I got high from it. That wasn't it. Speaking was just a means to the end. Speaking was a way to attract clients and deliver my message. But speaking is not like the peak. What I love to do more than anything is coach. Speaking would be a far second to coaching, because coaching is where I feel I can take all the addictions I've been through, all the trauma I've experienced, and be able to channel that back into other people. Then they can do what I teach them, then they can do it themselves, and they can do it to their teams. Because once you start to understand once you begin to understand the payoff and then the key to letting go, once you understand that lock to letting go, then you've just opened the keys to your kingdom. Because what you will begin to do is you'll begin to change who and what you attract. And the term "they show up" now has significance. It doesn't really have significance until you live it. So when the parking space, the tickets to the concerts, these situations, but when the people show up who produce, that's the living proof. That's God winking at you synchronistically, letting you know that you're on the path, not only to recovery, but you're on the path to enlightenment. Enlightenment is the highest level of consciousness, and you will experience it a time or 10 as you begin to let go. Enlightenment is a very unique place to live your life, because it's so much peace that you don't want to leave it. It's the Shangri-La of consciousness. But if you can experience it a few times throughout the journey, in that space of enlightenment, it's like what's happening is your body is releasing so much energy at such a high frequency that your body is creating DMT. And that DMT, that's like, it's translucent, and it's effervescent, and it's coming out of your body. And so that it's from such love and joy and peace that once it hits, it goes from thought to thought form, and it enters the universe, miracles happen. People call you from places that you didn't expect them to. You thought of someone, and then they call you. Someone joins your team, and they have a record month in their first month. It's in that state of enlightenment when your body releases DMT, dimethyltryptamine, is when you are just absolutely in the zone. That's when you can hit a 50-foot jump shot. That's when you can thread the needle. That's when miracles happen. That's when you're just thinking about a bird and it lands right in front of your window. Or you're at your window and a hummingbird appears. All the signs that the universe opens the door for you. And in this stage of enlightenment, you begin